Welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to talk about the recent things that I've been learning about and how magical it is when you open your eyes to the world behind the world. The other world is what, some people like to call it. It's the mystical world, it's the magical world, it's the realm of imagination and of play even, and dance, and that's exactly what I'm learning about right now. And so it's very fun to be on this journey of self-discovery and self-realization, because when you start to embark on this path, you'll realize that there's so many things in life that are meaningful. Just little things, synchronicities, right? Little serendipitous moments, meaningful coincidences, right? And it's just the reason I was even inspired to make this video is because I'm currently learning about the process of initiation and what an initiation looks like on a collective level and as well as an individual level, because I feel like I myself have been going through a initiation process. And essentially, once again, this is like my 5th time talking about it in a video, but it's essentially just, I would say a spiritual descent into revealing your true self to yourself. And so in order to do that, though, it takes time to, sit through it and surrender to the initiation, because the ultimate goal is to come out renewed and rebirthed, and so to essentially die on one level and then be resurrected right into a new way of being. But yeah, so I'm studying initiation, right? And the things that he's talking about, Michael Meade is the mentor that has been walking me through this. And the things that he's talking about are things like die before you die, and that death is in the middle of a long life, right? These are all like old proverbs, and essentially the meaning of them is to kind of kill the old part of you and be rebirthed into a new part of you. Kill your little self or ego and be brought into your deep self or true self, the soul, right? And so there's many different names, many different interpretations that you can look at this, but they're ultimately pointing to the same thing. And so as I'm learning about that, I decided to watch a video titled "The Fool Dances with Death" by Eternalised on YouTube. And he makes these great videos about psychology and archetypal and universal images that appear throughout all the cultures and why they have a universal meaning. And so The Fool Dances with Death essentially is representing how serious we take life, and how the fool doesn't take it serious at all. How the fool laughs at how serious we all take it, and how the fool sees through the illusion of, what we call meaningful life. And so a little things that I want to share first is, so these are some notes that I took, and first thing first is, you cannot escape or outrun death. At the end of the day, it is a innate part of life. It is equally as important as life, as birth, and you can't escape it or outrun it. When it comes to get you, it comes to get you. And once again, the saying "die before you die" and death is in the middle of a long life is essentially saying to become intimate with what we call death, and to get to know death on a personal level. And more than that, experience a death, experience a sort of ego death, and then, to shatter the sense of self that you thought you were, and to be rebirthed into your truest self, into a deeper self, essentially. And so, yeah, if you die before you die, then when you die, you don't die. Death is essentially a transformation, right? And so when you look at it in the allegorical sense and not the literal sense of something dying, you can see that it happens in nature everywhere, and it happens in ourselves throughout life. And so it's not that death is the end of life, but it's in the middle process of life. And so relating that to the Fool is talking about how the Fool has an intimate relationship with death, and how the Fool will laugh at death, and death essentially laughs back, because at the end of the day, we all belong to death, right? Like, everything that we have belongs to death, and so death can take us away at any moment. And so the Fool sees that and recognizes that, and so it dances through life. It dances through, the sorrows and the joys, and through all the highs and lows and the emotions. It laughs with it and it plays with it, because it understands it can be taken away at any moment. And that's why death almost respects the Fool more. And so I want to share a couple things that, the Fool represents, and why we should embody that aspect of ourselves. Because once again, the Fool is an archetypal image, meaning it lives within us on a deep unconscious level. And when we embody that part of ourselves, rather than shutting it down and shunning it in society, we are able to become more fully ourselves. Because at the end of the day, the process of individuation, of self-realization, of becoming whole, is the union of the opposites. I talked about this in many videos as well, is the divine marriage between the two opposites, that's, residing in the middle point of the yin and the yang. And so it shows up everywhere, and it's just a magical, mystical thing when you're able to see it in all areas of life, including yourself. And so, to go to the Fool laughs at the absurdity of how serious we take life. He sees through the illusion. He sees that people only live to make money, that the highest goal is to land a respectable job, that we buy things we don't need, with money we don't have, to impress people we don't like. That what matters is what others think of us, and how well we fulfill social expectations. That love is reduced to marrying someone financially secure. That passion is speaking of great energy, but saying nothing meaningful. And so the Fool, represents this aspect of ourselves that it's almost the eternal child within us, right? Because the child is playful, is curious, and questions everything, and doesn't know how serious things tend to be. And so it's just an important, thing to awaken within ourselves too. It's I think a vital part of our wholeness and our whole nature of becoming, a true individual, a true soul, if I'm making sense here. So, the other thing that I was learning about today is the three kinds of thinking. And you'll see how this relates to the Fool and the dancing with death in a second. And how there's three kinds of thinking, right? That we're not limited to one source of thinking. There's multiple layers of thinking and imagination. And, the first being the logical world. So there's multiple worlds that we live in, if you perceive it that way. It's not just the world outside of us. There's an inner world, and then there's also a world behind both of these outer and inner worlds, which you can consider to be the spiritual, mystical, magical world. But first is the logical world, the world of one, not oneness, of one, where we compartmentalize everything and put everything into a box. And so it's the world of single things, separateness, it's the world of facts and labels, and the world of hard reality. What you see is what you get. You're seeing something at face value and you're not questioning. It's deeper meaning, the shadow side of it, and I believe everything has a shadow side. And so, but in this way of thinking, you don't care to consider the shadow side. And so in this world, everything is measurable. It can be fact checked, it's the realm of being right or wrong. The bottom line rules. Issues tend to become black and white. It's a mass spell of literalism and materialism, where we take everything for what it is and we don't use our imagination to question it and to see beyond what we can physically see. It's the realm of time running out, right? And so the world outside of us. And so that's the first layer of thinking. And it's an important one at the end of the day. It's how, it's almost, it's related, honestly, I would say, to your ego as well, because, we need the ego to operate and to move in this world. Like, obviously we need to know how to do things in a physical sense. And, we need to know where we are and, what we're doing. That's a very, literal sense, and we need to measure things in terms of height and width and things like that, and it's important. It's an aspect though, and it's not it's not everything should be weighed that way though, because there's a lot more to this world. And so the second world, or the second kind of thinking, is the psychological world, where everything has a double, right? The shadow side and the face value side of what you get. And so it's the inner and the outer, the self and the other. Now, in the psychological world, how you feel and your subjective feeling towards things plays an important role in the details of a story. There's more depth in it. Everything that exists has a shadow. It's my world, or the inner world, right? And so in this realm of thinking and this world, time is not so linear. It can speed up or slow down, and that's determined by how we feel doing a certain activity, doing nothing. Time tends to speed up or slow down, and everyone kind of perceives time a little differently sometimes. And so it's the world of two becoming one. And so that's kind of the divine union of the opposites. And so this is a very important world as well, or way of thinking. It's the inner world. It's the subjective realm. And so it's where you see something, but you don't take it for what it is. You kind of weigh the importance of it is, how does it make you feel, I guess, in a sense. And so now the third world, or the third way of thinking, is the mythological world. And so in this world, or this way of thinking, it's very metaphorical and magical, and mystery replaces history in a sense. So it's the other world, it's the mythic imagination providing deeper insights. And in this world, it has to do with anything that breaks time open. And so it's the eternal trying to enter into the flow of time. And it's said to be that we only see and feel this world once in a while, and it can come in times of where life kind of doesn't feel real, where you fall in love, or you lose the loss of a loved one, right? You experience the loss of a loved one. And so that's kind of times in life where it breaks the current of time in a sense. And so this is the realm of imagination. This is the realm of play and of dream. And in a sense, you could say this is the world that the fool kind of resides in. And now the Fool, of course, is a double-edged sword, because, you know, if you completely reside in the mythological world, you're not going to know how to, you know, you're not going to see what's in front of you. And that's why the Fool represented in tarot is him walking on the edge of a cliff, about to walk off the cliff, right? Because the Fool doesn't see what's in front of him. It doesn't recognize the external dangers that are very real. You know what I'm saying? They're very real, and that's why it's important. But this world is also just as important, because this world is the one that gives true meaning and depth. And but yeah, you know, I kind of look at it in terms of you know, when you look at like a little bit of a crazy person on the side of the street, I think of it that they're living in the mythological world too much. They potentially opened the door of their unconscious, and that door has just not shut, and now so they are blind to the world in front of them. And that's why it is important, the first world, the logical world, you know, because if you don't shut the door essentially to the mythical realm, to the realm of the unconscious and the unknown, then you will become lost, and you will become, you know, you won't be able to move and operate in this world. And so I just thought it was interesting how I learned about that today, and then how I come to learn about the Fool a little bit, and it really correlated really well, you know, and that's just a little bit of a synchronicity in life that, you know, it's funny how things tend to show up. Yeah, you know, the Fool laughs at it all. The Fool doesn't take things so serious, and I just think we need to awaken to that aspect of ourselves a little bit more. I'm not saying, you know, to completely throw everything out the door and just, you know, don't take anything serious at all. That's not at all what I'm saying, but I think sometimes we need to take our foot off the gas essentially, and not try and get so many things done at once. We have this restlessness within us, and we don't give ourselves time to just be, because we're cursed by a spell of, you know, productivity and busyness and just trying to get things done all the time. And I think a lot of times it's just us running away from ourselves, and not facing ourselves. And the Fool sees right through it, and he laughs at it. And so I just thought it was an important topic to share. And, you know, it touched me on a pretty deep level today, and I hope, you know, you were able to get something from this as well. But anyways, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and that is it. All right, peace.